Hey YouTube, it is an absolutely beautiful day outside today, so I ventured out to make a toy for Reggie when he had his hernia surgery a couple of months ago. I started thinking about different toys that could keep dogs occupied when they couldn't exercise for whatever reason. So today we're going to make a great toy for distributing food using this 1x4x8 piece of cedar, and we'll walk you right through it. I'm Shannon, this is Reggie, and welcome to McCann Dogs. So materials for today's project, you're going to need one board, and I have gone with a 1x4x8 piece of cedar. You can use pine if you want to, it'll definitely keep things cheaper. I really like cedar and I like things to be pretty, so I'm going with cedar for today's project because I only need one piece. It's still keeping the cost for my project under $10. You'll need a piece of doweling, and I've gone with a 1/2-inch piece of dowel because my dog is a little bit of a ruffian. If you have a very gentle dog, you can probably go with something a little bit thinner. I've gone with 1/2 inch. You will need 3 or 4 plastic bottles, and you can go with bigger bottles if you'd like. This is what I happened to have available and ready for me, so I'm just going with the 591 milliliter size of bottles. You'll need a few of those. You'll need some wood glue to keep things sturdy, some screws, and I've also bought buttons to cover the holes that my dowel is going to create. So all in all, this project is going to cost less than $10. If you go with pine over cedar, it's probably going to cost you less than $5. All right, I'm ready to get started with chopping down my large piece of wood here. And for this project, I'm going to make 2 24-inch pieces, so two 2-foot pieces, and I'm going to make 2 22.5-inch pieces so that I'll have a perfect square when I'm done. There we go. I've got my 4 pieces of wood for my box and a little piece left over for that wonderful smell that cedar gives off. Okay, so when I'm actually working on projects like this, I like to use pocket holes and actually sink the screws so that there's no screws sticking up, there's no sharp edges sticking up anywhere, especially when I'm working with my dogs. I don't want to take a chance that they might snag a paw on something like this. I've got this really great little K-reg jig that's very portable, very, very easy to use, and very small to store. For those of you that may have noticed as well, I'm actually working on a grooming table as my work table. It's a great dual-purpose tool for those of us that like to do multiple things and maybe don't like to store a lot of things. So I've got my my jig set up here to make my screw holes, and I've already done a little bit of a test just to make sure that I've got it on the right settings. So I'm going to drill my hole. I'm just going to do one on each side. I don't really need to overdo it. This is a very small box that I'm making. Alrighty, so now I've got my 2 smaller boards set up with 2 pocket hole screws, or 2 pocket holes in each side, and I'm just about ready to screw it all together. Okay, so one last thing that I need to do with my 2 shorter boards before I start to actually screw all this together is drill the 2 holes that I'm going to need for my doweling to sit in. So I'm going to measure to the 12-inch point on this. Now I know this board isn't completely 24 inches, and that's okay because I'm using smaller bottles. I just want it to sit up a little bit higher so that it's easier for my dog to play around with that. So I'm going to measure to the 12-inch mark there. I'm just going to put a little X, and that's where I'm going to drill my hole. I'm using a 1/2-inch bit so that my 1/2-inch dowel piece will fit in there nicely in a perfect world. I'm going to clamp my board to the table just to secure it. There we go. Make sure I'm well past the edge here. All right, I'm just going to test to make sure that fits well with my doweling. Perfect. Excellent. Ready to put it all together. All right, now just before I do attach everything together, it's an easier time right now for me to sand through things a little bit so that there's not all these splinters. I can make it a little bit nicer for my dog, and I don't risk my dogs getting splinters while they're playing with this. And I'm just using a coarse a coarse sandpaper right now. It's actually an 80. It really doesn't need to be beautiful, so I just want to take those edges off with a coarser grit. Alrighty, and before I move on, I just like to make sure that there aren't any splinters in there. Everything's nice and smooth. There's nothing that's going to catch my dog's foot. Okay, I'm happy with that. You could certainly go over yours with finer and finer sandpaper if you wanted to. I'm quite happy with what I've got here, considering it's just a dog toy that's going to be thrown around by my dogs anyways. Okay, now all that is left is to assemble my pieces here. So I've got my wood glue. I'm going to make a little bit of a strip on each side of my base. That's just going to add some extra strength over time. All right, I'll line up my boards here, and I'm going to pre-sink my screws just to make my life a little easier. Okay. And I'm ready to put it together. Line it up, make sure I'm happy with where it is. I'd like it to be as square as possible. All right, now I've got my box. Okay, so now I'm ready to put in my doweling, and I've cut my dowel just a tiny bit shorter than the box itself. That way I can slide these buttons, I can slide the buttons in on the end, and I can keep that nice and secure, but I have the option of taking it out. If I didn't want to take it out, I would probably glue it in place to make sure it was nice and secure in there, but I want to be able to replace these bottles because I have a feeling they're going to take a bit of a beating with my dogs. Now I've cut holes in those bottles nice and close to the top so that when they swing, they come right back into position, and that will help to keep the kibbles that I'm going to put inside those bottles in them. So I'm going to slide my dowel in, not quite all the way because I need to put my bottles on. All right, and that fits as perfectly as I was hoping it would. I'll just put my buttons on the ends here. Okay, so I'm all set here with my toy. I just put some kibble in just to take it for the first test run. And that is exactly how I was hoping it would work. So it's not super easy for them to come out, but with enough of a swing and enough technique, they will do just that. All right, we come inside to take our toy for a little bit of a test run. It's just a bit too muddy out there to put it on the ground. Reggie is eager to see what this is all about. If you like today's video, make sure you click that thumbs up button, and remember that we publish new videos every Thursday, so don't forget to subscribe to McCann Dogs on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Happy training.